What's going on, everybody? Josh Engleman for Awesemo.com, and I am back with my NBA DFS contenders on DraftKings for Thursday, June 24th. Now be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all of our other content goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman so you can get updates to my sim results as we get closer to lock. And finally, let me know in the comments section who is your favorite and least favorite of my contenders for today's slate. We are rounding out the bottom of my top 10 with Marcus Morris, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, Chris Paul, and Ivica Zubac on the outside looking in. Who will be my favorites? My top 5 plays for today? It's time to find out. First up at number 5, we have DeAndre Ayton. He is 9K, projected for 35. He's in the captain spot 9% of the time. Optimal flex 44% of the time. Overall, 53% likelihood of being in the optimal lineup. I've got him in for 36 minutes, and he's going to get his pick and roll partner back with Chris Paul back in the lineup. Basically 1 fantasy point per minute. It's spot on it. 9.97. I don't want to get too technical. 17 points, 10 boards. So we're looking at a double-double. 50-50 shot that he just gets the double-double right out of the gate. Could probably get an assist or two, probably around 2 stocks. I think it's a benefit that Chris Paul is back for DeAndre Ayton. Should just make things a little bit easier for him, particularly on the offensive end. Chris Paul really knows how to pull the strings offensively. 9K is getting to the upper bound of him being able to hang like a true ceiling game out there. And I do expect Ayton's price to maybe come down a little bit in the near future. But even at 9K, that's still enough for him to have the 5th highest likelihood of being in the optimal. Now, if you're looking to save some salary, number 4, Patrick Beverley, just 3,200, projected for basically 20 fantasy points, 3% chance at being in the captain spot, 54% chance at the flex, 57% likelihood overall to be in the optimal lineup. Beverley's been playing bigger minutes in this series. He's got 26 here. Now, he's basically just north of 0.7 fantasy points per minute. You need him to play every minute that he can. The projected line is pretty ugly. 8 points, 3.5 boards, 3 assists, a stock and a half. You need the minutes for Patrick Beverley, and I'm expecting him to need to be out there. He is quite the irritant. I can see him getting in Chris Paul's face a little bit here. So 26 minutes for Beverley at 3,200 means he is a preferred value option on DraftKings. Makes it a lot easier to pay up for some of the other studs that you are about to see. And it's weird, Reggie Jackson is sort of a stud. He's the number 3 contender for today, 7,800, projected for 34.5. 15% chance to be in the optimal lineup in the captain spot, 47% at flex, 62% likelihood that Reggie Jackson is in the optimal lineup. He is playing monstrous minutes. I've got him in for 38 again, 0.9 fantasy points per minute, above average usage, almost 20 real points, which is what you kind of need out of Reggie Jackson. 5 assists, almost 4 boards. Maybe you get a steal, but scoring is what's going to be important here. And I actually expect him to do pretty well on that front for this game, especially in those 38 minutes. Now, it's going to be like, you don't need 38 minutes. You can get there on 32 or 34 for Reggie Jackson. I just assume that he's going to be out there. But 7,800 is not all that bad of a price tag. And that's why you're seeing him show up in 15% of captain spots. His price is set that he's got the upside in scoring that can make him efficient at that price tag. You don't got to go all the way down. It's rare that I see guys with this mid-tier price tag, because spoiler alert, Devin Booker and Paul George are going to be number 1 and number 2. Those guys are usually the guys that are pulling the biggest captain ownership. But because of Reggie Jackson's price, he actually becomes really efficient in the captain spot, which allows you to get to both Booker and George in the flex. As I said, the number 2 contender here, Devin Booker, he's 10,800, projected for 44 fantasy points, 15% chance at the captain spot, 56% chance at the flex, 71% likelihood that he's in the optimal lineup in general. I do think he takes a step back sort of overall just because Chris Paul is back. That obviously makes the Suns better, but it probably lowers Devin Booker's median projection. So 40 minutes, 1.1-ish fantasy points per minute. 32% usage is still big, but it's a little bit less than it was when Chris Paul was off the floor. 29 real points, 5 assists, almost 5 rebounds. Maybe you get a stock. You know what you're trying to get out of Devin Booker, though, and that's monstrous scoring. And that should help. Chris Paul should help at least get Devin Booker some cleaner looks. I don't know if maybe the offset of volume keeps him pretty neutral, but at 10,800, I don't even think it matters all that much. He's really easy to roster in the captain spot. He's really easy to roster in the flex spot. You're going to go to, obviously, number one guy, Paul George, a little bit more frequently because Paul George doesn't have a Chris Paul on the opposite side. Doesn't really have a DeAndre Ayton either. It's all Paul George, and that's what's going to put him at number one. Spoiler alert. But before we get to that number one contender, one last reminder, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live, and then head on over to Twitter and follow me at Josh Engleman. Only place you're going to get updates to my sim results as we get closer to lock. And finally, comment section underneath this video. I need your favorite contender, I want your least favorite contender, and I want the guy that you thought was going to be on this list that you didn't see. There he is, number one, Paul George, 11,200, projected for 51.5. He's in the optimal captain spot 41% of the time. He's the optimal flex play 43% of the time. 84% likelihood to see Paul George in the optimal in general. 40 minutes, almost 1.3 fantasy points per minute, 30 real points, just shy of 8 boards, 5 assists, 2 stocks, 35% usage. This one's not too crazy. If the Clippers want to stay in this series and move it to 2-1, it's going to be on the back of Paul George having a big game. 1 for 8 from 3 in game 2 is not going to be enough to get it done. He took 15 threes in game 1. I think he's going to need to up the volume from deep in order to have a bigger day. But one way or the other, I expect Paul George to be in an optimal lineup. And more often than not, I expect him to be the optimal captain. Paul George is your number one contender for today. Alrighty, folks, that will do it. Those are my NBA DFS contenders on DraftKings for Thursday, June 24th. FanDuel version of this video is around here somewhere. Strategy show at 10 a.m. with Laffy. You don't want to miss it. Also, check out the breakfast menu, my sports betting video with Ben Raza. That will be out later today as well. And then live before lock tonight, myself and Rinpack breaking it all down as we lead up to the 9 p.m. tip-off. Good luck tonight, everybody. I will be back again. Woo, almost messed that one up. I will be back again tomorrow morning for another edition of the Contenders.